Two Geeks, Two Beers, episode 86, Crappy Consoles.
Where is the Nintendo?
We don't have a Nintendo. We got a ColecoVision plugged into the black and white TV.
Oh my god, this is like a third world country.
Well, hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Two Geeks, Two Beers with me, Tom, and my nostalgia-loving pal, Morgan.
Good day.
So, I'll say brand new episode. I mean, obviously, don't know how
Yeah, as opposed to a partly new episode. I always assume you're saying that because you don't know which episode number it is.
I do that as well, because, we sometimes change it later, and if I've edited it in, and then I've got, I've had that problem before, I've had to edit in a number, edit out a number, anyway, boring. Anyway, this time, I'm taking the reins, and
we're getting off to a killer start, I have to say.
It's a video game episode, everyone. So this time, we've previously done episodes on the Sega Megadrive, the Sega Dreamcast, the latter of which was a bit of a hit and miss console, to say the least.
I thought you were going to say a hit and miss episode, just like not one of our best.
But even the Mega Drive had its dodgy moments. So I think I talked in the episode itself about the 32X and the Sega CD add-ons, which got me thinking. What are the weirdest and dodgiest video game consoles of all time? So, for this episode, I've picked just 3 of my favourites, which I'd love to kind of have a go on, if you could even find one or get them working. But yeah, just thought it'd be good to just take you through these odd eras of the past, these grand relics, compared to the, we've got... Because kids these days, they've only got, like...
That didn't take long.
It's the 3, you got PlayStation, whatever the latest PlayStation is, whatever the latest Xbox is, and whatever weird stuff that Nintendo's doing. That is it. Whereas back in the 80s and 90s, but particularly the 80s, there was just all sorts of crap going. There was no quality control at all.
Yeah.
And it led to the big...
You've totally flipped. You're like, kids these days, they've got this and that and the other. And now you're saying, but back in my day, we had no quality control.
Look, it was shit back then. I'm just saying, these kids these days don't know they're born. They don't know that,
It was shit, but it was my shit, all right?
Yeah. So did you have any kind of odd consoles or video game accessories growing up? Because I know that we say that we were quite late in our video game console world, weren't we? Because we both had the Mega Drive and the PlayStation like a good 3 or 4 years after you were meant to have them.
Late adopters. I always seem to have the console after the one or before the one you were meant to have. So when everyone was rocking a PlayStation 2, I just got a PlayStation 1. And when everyone was moving on to the Sega Saturn, I was still playing my Mega Drive. But no, I was quite mainstream in my video gaming back then. I was a late adopter, but I stuck to those big name consoles. I didn't really go down any of these strange avenues of crappier consoles.
Well, this shows how old I am, because growing up, because I thought that my first console was the Mega Drive. I did play, we finally got a computer in our house back when it was Windows 3.1, and it was the early 90s. And I played MS-DOS games on that. But the first
and my brother had a Spectrum. Used to play Dizzy on a Spectrum, so that was technically the household's first.
But a bit too early for you though to get into it. But yeah, growing up, me and my sister's first console was actually this thing called the Binatone TV Master Superstar. I had to actually ask her what it was, because I just suddenly had this memory of it, and we talked about it over Christmas, and it was something that was from the 70s, but it was just still hanging around our house for some reason. It must have been my brother's back in the day. I'll try and find a picture of it and send it to you now.
Right. So you were, even then, you were a late adopter, but even more so, you were still playing.
No, it reminded me of there was a time where I went to. This is when I was trying to be cool and play football. And I was probably about 8 or 9. I didn't really know anything about football, and I went to there was I might have been school or Cubs or something. I went there to play, and I didn't have like a Man United shirt like all the other boys would have, but my brother had one back when he was a kid. Bear in mind, but this was the 1979 Man United top.
Because we should establish your brother is quite a bit older than you, isn't he?
Yeah. And I just turned up wearing this. And now that would be considered, oh, that's nice and vintage, cool.
Yeah.
Whereas back then, no,
because like the time difference was enough that it was old, but not retro. It's like it had to be if it had been a little bit older, it would have been vintage and cool, but it hadn't quite reached
exactly.
that.
If I turned up with like the 1989 top, I might have been all right. But anyway, so here's the console. The first console I ever had is just a picture of it, just so you can see the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Wow, that looks like.
How would you describe that?
It looks like the first computer console ever devised by man.
It probably was. So it's this grey box, which looks like a toaster or something, and
like a beige toaster.
And it's got these orange buttons, and then a slot for the cartridge, and then these little joysticks, but they're attached to the. I don't think you could unplug them. They're attached to it, so you couldn't go very far, and it played like Pong and all that kind of stuff. But yeah. Because I think my brother was away at uni at that time, and so I didn't get a proper console until maybe 96. I got the Megadrive, something like that.
What I like about this whatever it's called, the Harmar Superstar. What I like about this, what I like about it is that there's clearly so little going on in terms of like the design and its capabilities that at the top is a big slot for the cartridge to go in, and then underneath that, taking up quite a bit of the console, it's just a big button or a big sign with an arrow pointing up that says cartridge in. So there's the cartridge. Yeah, there's the cartridge slot, and then underneath it's just a big arrow saying cartridge in. Oh dear.
So we just had this thing knocking around, and just Pong and games like that. But I knew no different, despite there being at that point several better consoles out. We'd had a couple of Nintendo ones by then, even like the Spectrum and things like that. This is what we had. So I was about 20 years behind all my friends, pretty much. So before we go into the ones I'm going to go into,
I like the idea you walking around in an old Man United shirt playing Pong on this thing. People think you've been like thawed out from a previous age.
With a hoverboard made out of cardboard, like I mentioned in the Back to the Future episode. So before I go into the consoles at length, the ones I've picked are a few honourable mentions first, and ones I didn't know existed. So the Apple Pippin. Do you know about the Apple Pippin?
No.
So, Apple's only foray into games consoles was back in 1995. It cost $600, and it had a controller shaped like a Starfleet logo.
Internet はテレビで見よう。テレビをあっと変える。ピピンアットマーク誕生。
But yeah, just the fact. But Pippin, of all the names to pick, he chose that.
Well, presumably it's a play on Apple Pip. I would.
Yeah, but like, was it like
so.
Is it also a play on like it's poppin'? Was that like a cool slang term at the time? Is the sort of thing Michael Jordan would say? I don't know. The Mattel Hyperscan was in 1997, where with this thing you would like scan a card, and that would play your game and help select characters. But the only reason it was worth mentioning was because it had a built-in X-Men game of like the cartoon. So you would have liked it, I think. If nothing else, you would have been all over that.
I'd have been running straight to the Mattel store to pick that one up.
New Hyperscan video game system is here, featuring X-Men. It's where collectible card games meet video games. Scan your character, battle and gain power, rescan to save the power permanently back to your card. Hyperscan video game system with one controller and X-Men game pack. Other games coming soon, sold separately. Rated E10+ to teen. HyperscanGamer.com.
Atari, another big games console manufacturer, they released their they had some classics, but they also had a failure in the form of the Atari Jaguar. It was their attempt at competing with Sega and Nintendo in the early 90s.
Some of you believe your system is the most advanced in the universe. Let's review the numbers. Sega Genesis is 16 bits. 3DO is 32 bits. The Atari Jaguar is 64 bits. Which is more advanced? Clifford! 16 and 32 are less than 64. So with 64 bits, 3D graphics, real-world animation, and lightning speed that you can only get with Jaguar, which is more advanced? Clifford!
Can you repeat the question?
Jaguar!
And then they tried to keep it going with this Jaguar CD, and it just looks like... Well, I know what I think it looks like.
All right.
See what you think when I find it for you here. When you end up plugging the cartridge in as well.
Yeah.
It just... Not only does it look like it's mating with each other, but it looks like what can only be described as an ugly toilet.
Yeah. No, it looks like someone's got a George Foreman grill. They've got They've got George Foreman's lean, mean, fat reducing grilling machine, and on top of that they put one of those proper old CD players. The kind that if you were on a bus. Then it was, you were bouncing on the bus, the sound would skip.
The shock resistant thing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They put one of those shock resistant CD players on the top of a George Foreman grill, and then on top of that is the cartridge that's plugged in right at the top. But there's not a huge arrow this time saying console in, because by this time, computer games, video game players were more sophisticated. They knew by now where the cartridge went.
They knew what they were doing. Yeah.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Then you had the Philips and Sony CDI, which cost the equivalent of $1,300, which is just bonkers.
Say you're watching TV and this guy says...
It's CDI, friends, the next generation CD player that works with your TV.
And you'd say...
But I have a CD player.
Then your mom says...
No, dear. CDI works with your television.
You'd probably feel pretty dumb and maybe even fake it like you'd already experienced the ultimate in games, movies, music, and more.
Trust me, babe, I know about this CDI stuff.
Now get into CDI, starting at $2.99 with $200 of free software.
So it was a weird one, because due to a quirk that meant that Nintendo had licensed characters like Mario and Zelda, this meant that the CDI had these, they were allowed to use these characters, but it wasn't Nintendo making them, so they had these weird sort of dreadful cartoon versions of these classic games. So the whole thing looks like a massive VCR. But I found a cutscene of a game called Hotel Mario on this thing, and yeah, just look at the state of it.
Nice of the princess to invite us over for a picnic, eh, Luigi? I hope she made lots of spaghetti. Luigi, look! It's from Bowser. Dear pesky plumbers, the Koopalings and I have taken over the Mushroom Kingdom. The princess is now a permanent guest at one of my 7 Koopa hotels. I dare you to find her if you can. We gotta find the princess. And you gotta help us. If you need instructions on how to get through the hotels, check out the enclosed instruction book.
Wow. I mean, sudden and quite unsettling breaking of the fourth wall there. That just came out of nowhere. In case that wasn't clear, Luigi was suddenly like, "And you, I got to help us." Yeah, I'm not sure about the visuals. I'm not at all sure about the voice acting.
No.
If I'm honest,
I think they were going down the Bob Hoskins route, weren't they?
Do you know what? It was definitely was that around the time of the Hoskins movie, or was that foreshadowing?
I guess so. Yeah.
Because that was quite more gruff than I'd like to hear my Mario. It was like, "Hey, come on, Luigi, we gotta go. No." Okay,
so let's start with the console that I've chosen, which is the Action Max, which is the ultimate name for a console, isn't it? This was a home video game console using VHS tapes for games. Would you believe?
Wow.
It was manufactured in 1987 by a company called Worlds of Wonder. I will send you first an image of the console itself, so you can have a nice idea of what it is and trying to describe this for the listener, because it does not translate to audio, obviously.
Interesting. Okay, so This one looks a little bit like a grey lunchbox with some buttons on it. And now the picture you've just sent me, I don't know how much of this is like part and parcel of the Action Max, but there's also alongside this lunchbox there is a sort of gunmetal grey plastic pistol. Some headphones, but like those really old school headphones that with the sort of foam coverings, but they really hurt your ears. Do you know what I mean? Those really old school ones. And then because they were sort of like made of wire, and then also something that looks like a yo-yo.
I think it's like a red light. I think it's something that you shoot the light gun with, I assume. I think you attach that to the telly. But anyway, here's a little trailer of sorts, so you can get in the mood of the late 1980s.
Oh, you know I love being in the mood of the late 1980s. The good stuff, anyway, not all the bad stuff that was going.
Not like Bros.
Not all the bad stuff like Bros. It's not that kind of podcast.
This is identified as substantial buildup of hostile forces right here in our own backyard. And I'm giving you the green light to clean them out. Gentlemen, you're the best. Get up there and prove it.
Okay, boys. Let's kick some.
I've got him. Watch your back. Moving down the right side. He's on me. Pull out. Dr. Wayne, keep on him.
Action Max for your VCR.
Yeah.
If it were any more real, it wouldn't be a game.
All right, a few things about that commercial. First of all, you know, like now when you see a game and they've got like these really fancy visuals in the advert, and then it comes up with a little caption saying like not in-game footage. Yeah. I feel like this might be that. Yeah, I feel like this might be the advert that made that happen, because in case you couldn't tell, which you definitely couldn't, there's like this young kid and he's like in flight training, and then he's suddenly like piloting like a jet plane, and then it cuts to the game that looks nothing like that. Also, point number 2 is that the game is apparently again like a jet pilot game where he's you know, some kind of like flight simulator, but he cut to him in his living room and he's just pointing the light gun at his really like aggressively at the TV, being like shooting his TV. But like how does the light gun translate to flying a plane? That is in no way like equatable.
Also, I think Johnny needs to go to therapy.
Well, yeah.
Very aggressive boy.
The way he was like holding that, I was like, I feel like this could take a dark turn at any point.
So the Action Max system required the player to, well, you had to have a VCR. Obviously, it didn't come with the console. It didn't put they didn't think of allowing you to at least put the VCR game into the machine. So you had to use light guns, as you say, and the players shoot at the screen, which, you know, is pretty good going for 1987, I guess. But the gaming was strictly point-based and dependent on shot accuracy, and as a result, players can't truly win or lose a game. I don't really understand that. That's just what Wikipedia tells me. But
no wonder Johnny was so deranged that he's like, I've been playing for hours and I can't win, but also I can't lose.
Terrifying.
It's just the purgatory of video gaming, Mum.
So as you can guess, the only real genre on this system are light gun games that play exactly the same way every single time, leading to its very quick market decline. So before playing, the way you do it, so you had a red sensor, which was that weird yo-yo thing that had to be attached to the lower right corner of the TV screen.
How does a light gun work with a VHS?
I don't know. I think the way it works is like, I think the way that the old TV screens in particular worked was that there were certain pixels or something on the whether it was a cartridge or a VHS.
I feel bad.
I don't know the answers to the question.
I feel like I've asked you a question. I've taken you out of your comfort zone. You clearly don't know what you're talking about. Let's get back on script.
Look, I think it was just a very ingenious way that they found a way. I think it's one of the things, the way that they've said they can't really win or lose a game. I think as long as you shoot it directly near to a thing, like, it was just very hard. I don't know. I just can't see how I don't know how they thought this was going to last, put it that way. Just because, as you say, you can only do a certain amount of games, only certain genres. It's not like you're going to get, I don't know, you're not going to get Broken Sword on the Action Max, are you? Anyway, before playing, you had to put the red sensor in the lower right corner of the TV screen, and it says that this corner contains a circle that was usually black, but flashes rapidly whenever something on the screen is targetable. So there you go. At the same time, targets are highlighted by rapidly flashing panels for the player to shoot at. The console uses the corner circle and light from the targets picked up by the guns to determine when something has been hit. Does that make any sense? Doesn't make sense to me, but there you go.
No, not really, but carry on.
I thought you were going to go, I wasn't listening.
No.
Flashes in sync with the corner circle count as enemy hits and earn points for the player. Flashes out of sync with the corner circle count as friendly hits and you lose points. So with this implementation, the unit can function with copies of the original VHS tapes, including those on more modern formats, apparently, such as DVD-R or personal computers. The console can work with any filmed footage properly formatted to function with the console's light gun. However, only 5 VHS cassettes were actually released for the system. So there was only 5 games. So after all that, they only released 5 games.
Well, no wonder there was market decline. Do you know if any of those 5 games were a flight simulator, or was that just an egregious lie?
Oh, well, I know every single one. So we got .38 Ambush Alley, which is a police target range. You got Blue Thunder, which is based on the 1983 motion picture. Do you know Blue Thunder?
I can't say I do. I think it's about as notable in cinema as the Action Max is in the world of video gaming.
Blue Thunder features a high-tech helicopter of the same name and stars Roy Scheider, Daniel Stern, and Malcolm McDowell.
Who's Daniel Stern? You said that like you were excited.
Daniel Stern was the bloke from Home Alone, Marv.
Oh, of course he was. Yeah.
Yeah. And Malcolm McDowell. Malcolm McDowell's in everything, isn't he?
They had the ultimate weapon and the perfect plan. But Murphy stole their thunder.
No, Roy. I always thought this is another Mandela effect. It isn't Roy Schneider, it's Roy Scheider.
No, do you know what it is? It's another Looney Tunes moment.
Yeah. It's Roy Scheider.
The star of Jaws?
Yeah.
It's Schneider, isn't it Schneider?
No, Scheider, apparently. No N at all. No N there. Unless some weirdo has gone into Wikipedia and edited every single one. But it does say not to be confused with Roy Schneider, who is a physician in America and a governor. But yeah, there you go. Roy Scheider. Who knew?
Well, who says you don't?
We've learned something
on this
today.
Podcast? We've learned nothing useful about video game consoles, but you've learned.
So yeah, Blue Thunder, Hydro Sub, which is set in Hydro Sub 2021. Brilliant. There's a reason we're doing this now. There's a game on the Action Max which was set in 2021, a futuristic underwater voyage. It says here, the rescue of Pop's Ghostly, a comic haunted house adventure, and finally Sonic Fury aerial combat, which came with the system. So I assume that was the game in the advert.
Fine.
A planned 6th cassette, Fright Night, possibly based on a 1985 horror film with the same name, was unreleased at this time when the Action Max was discontinued.
They were like, look, we were considering a tie-in to Fright Night, but after we couldn't capitalise on the huge box office success of Blue Thunder starring Roy Scheider, we decided to can it.
So each game follows an identical gameplay format, differing only in theme, playing the same way each time. Would you like a little example of one game from the beginning?
I would love it, Tom.
So this is Hydro Sub 2021.
I like how when you realised that it was 2021, you could have played it cool and started out and made it seem like it was the plan all along, but you couldn't contain your excitement. You were like, yes, I've just stumbled on a reason why we're talking about this. Brilliant. Nailed it.
Stand by for target practice. Fire at the center of the flashing target. A steady aim is critical. To calibrate your game pistol, adjust the distance control on your base unit. Turn it toward minus if you're close to the screen, or toward plus if you're further away. The score signal will light when you hit a target, and points will be added to your score on the base unit. Now, reset your score by turning the power switch off and on again on your base unit. Prepare for action.
Captain Jason, this is navigation. I don't know what hit us. Our instruments have gone crazy. We're completely lost.
I don't read your navigation. Explain.
I can't, Captain. I've never seen anything like it before.
Move aside, mate. Let me look at that. Good Lord. Can it be true? This may be it. The lost world. Man your battle stations. And gunny officers. We have to be prepared to defend the Sea Dragon against anything. Oh, I've heard many a tale of this accursed place, but I never thought I'd live to see it with my own eyes. And if the tales be true, then we'll be facing the most abominable creatures the gods ever put on this world, or any other.
Yeah, because if you want to know what that looked like, very much picture the production values of a Doctor Who episode from around about the same time. That'll give you a little clue.
It is I felt the intro scroll sounded like Richard Nixon for some reason. It sounded like Richard Nixon that's what he was doing in exile.
Post Watergate.
Yeah. Suffice to say, the Action Max didn't last. So we'll go on to number 2 on my list, which is the Virtual Boy. Have you heard of the Virtual Boy?
Not, no.
No. This was a downright strange piece of kit. That was a miracle that it didn't kill Nintendo. It is an actual Nintendo product. So, released in 1995, it was marketed as the first console capable of displaying stereoscopic 3D graphics. And essentially, the player had to use the console like a head-mounted display, and you placed your head against the eyepiece to see a red monochrome display. And then it uses what is called a parallax effect to create the illusion of 3D in depth. Sales failed to meet targets. Nintendo ceased distribution and game development by 1996, having released only 22 games for the system. So I'll send you a trailer, and just the state of what it looked like alone is a miracle. I don't know what they were thinking.
All right, I feel like stereoscopic is not a real word. Also, like I feel like that's next to supermarionation in the.
It's like macromation. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, in the lexicon of made-up words, it's right alongside it.
It came from the third dimension with its own brain, its own voice, its own legs. There's only one problem. It needs your eyes. Virtual Boy. See it now in 3D.
Alright, so there's a lot going on there. First of all, the console itself looks like a pair of binoculars on long metallic legs. Like, did it actually have the legs?
Yeah, I've sent you a picture of what it looked like in situ, and that's exactly what I thought. It was like, just eyes on legs, essentially.
Yeah. No, really, wow, okay, yeah, really unsettling. And also, to kind of add to that unsettling vibe, they've decided to put out a promotional campaign in which a human is sort of absorbed into the, like, it's like something out of an Alien movie, like really sinister. It needs your eyes. Like, who's like so baffling.
Yeah, not only look at the state of it, but just how heavy the damn thing must have been. It's ridiculous. So development of the Virtual Boy lasted 4 years and began under the project name VR32. Nintendo entered a licensing agreement to use a, as you say, stereoscopic LED eyepiece technology, which had been in development since the 1980s by the US company Reflection Technology. It also built a factory in China to be used only for Virtual Boy manufacturing. So I love that there was a whole factory just for this monstrosity. Over the course of development, the console technology was downscaled due to high costs and potential health concerns, and an increasing amount of resources.
You can't just skip past that. What do you mean health concerns?
No, I think we'll go on to this in a minute. But the actual console was not good. It wasn't good for you. Like they always say that video games corrupt youth and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the fact that you've got it on to play it, you've got to put your head right up to it, and it's like and the angle of it's really weird, and it's all just like red and horrible. Apparently you can't play it for too long because it will just fuck you up. Yeah. So the technology was downscaled due to high costs and potential health concerns, and an increasing amount of resources were reallocated to development of the Nintendo 64 instead, which was Nintendo's next home console.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I sort of just caught up with myself where I realised like what the period was. The idea that Nintendo was like we could fund GoldenEye on the N64 or this fucking thing, this weird pair of binoculars on metal legs that absorbs you and actually causes you like physical harm. We could put all our money in that or the N64, one of the greatest consoles of all time.
So in the end, the Virtual Boy, I mean, they've gone too far with it. They had to do something with it. So they pushed it to market it in an unfinished state. Apparently, in 1995, they just went, "Go on then, fine. We'll try it."
I like the idea. They're like, "Oh, what are we gonna do? I don't know. We kind of ran out of money. Put it out unfinished. I mean, will that cause people harm? No more harm than if it were finished. So that's a plus."
As you can guess, the Virtual Boy was panned by critics and it was a commercial failure. It was not a critical success.
Not at all.
Even after repeated price drops. Its failure has been attributed to its high price, its monochrome display, unimpressive stereoscopic effect, lack of true portability and health concerns. But I love the fact they made it out like it was this portable thing, like you were meant to, going to take it to the park and play it with my mates. Like, no, look at it. It's huge, and you've got to have a table, and you've got to have it plugged in, so it's pointless. What's the point?
Also, again, if it's like, put down to its lack of portability, it's, again, health concerns. I think that should be top of the list. Like, you end up like a mangled beast of a human after playing this.
Yeah, because the Virtual Boy, and I think the reason it just didn't work is that it was meant to be used while sitting down at a table, while also plugged in. So it's not like you could play it anywhere. And apparently, you could also buy like a harness to use while standing. And it's just how lame must you have been? Just the idea of like,
I'm now picturing you circa like 90. No, actually, it would be probably like 2005 in a really old Man United shirt with a cardboard hoverboard underneath your feet, strapped into your Virtual Boy harness.
Dear. Well, most of the games, annoyingly and ironically, weren't even virtual, like virtual reality or even 3D. They were just sort of regular games on a red display. So you had things like Tetris, just Tetris. Like, so you'd go in going, 3D Tetris. Nope, just Tetris, normal Tetris, but red. Do you like Tetris, but want to see it in just red and really up close to your face? Then that's what you're gonna get with a Virtual Boy.
Do you want to wear a harness while you play Tetris? Well, this is the console sort of for you.
It even had like an automatic pause mode apparently, because they knew if you kept playing for more than 30 minutes it would damage your eyes, so it would automatically pause. So whether you wanted to or not, it would just go, No, dude, it's time for you to put it down for a minute. I mean, you could turn that mode off if you wanted to and kill yourself, but yeah.
It's damaging my eyes. I better stop playing. Oh, this fucking harness takes so long to take off. My retinas are burning. Jesus.
I'll show you a bit of gameplay footage. This is from Mario Tennis, and apparently it's decent. It's a decent 3D tennis game for the time, but just the way that it's just all red just is silly. So especially tennis, where it feels like it should be green, and it's like it just feels like it's all covered in blood or something. It's really weird. Anyway, here's Mario Tennis on the Virtual Boy.
I hope it's a short clip because I feel like this is going to damage my eyes.
Yeah, you get the idea.
Well, what you couldn't see there was that the game's opening scroll advertised not just its instruction booklet but its precaution booklet. That's never good, is it? When a console
you have to sign a waiver before you even start playing the game.
Also, and I just want to, before we move on, mention that that was one of the oddest flights of fancy you have ever gone on, where you started talking. It feels like it should be green because it's tennis, but instead it's like a tennis match except drenched in blood. And like you've gone on some strange fucking flights of fancy throughout this podcast, but that was one of the oddest, Tom. I just had to
look. It's been a long lockdown, all right. Suffice to say, the Virtual Boy didn't last. Anyway, finally, my favourite of the games I've chosen, and I wish I had one of these because it looks wizard, as Anakin Skywalker would say. This is the Coleco Telstar Arcade. Now, before I get into it, just look at it, and you tell me that you wouldn't want to play with this thing.
Okay. Wow. What the fuck? What the fuck is that?
Try and explain that one.
I literally don't know how. So it's like that is everything in the kitchen sink. So it's sort of like triangular.
And it's the wood era of games where everything was panelled in wood.
Yeah, that famous wood era of games. It's sort of like a brown triangle, partly made of plastic, but as you say, partly sort of wood panelling. And then on the right hand side of the triangle is a steering wheel, like a whole kind of dashboard for a car. And then on the left hand side is a gun stuck in a holster. So it's this really odd setup, and then it kind of looks like there's a mixing desk up top.
Yeah, I think on the other side there's like a proper joystick or something and some knobs and things. But the gun isn't like a normal light gun. It's like an actual handgun, like a proper Smith and Wesson or something.
Yeah, and it's just got kind of awkwardly wedged into the side of this thing.
And you probably don't realise, but on top of it there is a cartridge. That's what the cartridge looked like, was this little triangle thing that you'd put on top of it. It's inserted into it.
Do you know what this looks like? This looks like if aliens sort of saw humans and sort of saw our video game consoles and then tried to recreate it, but they sort of got the gist, but they didn't quite understand the specifics, and this is what you'd end up with, this monstrosity.
It's like Homer Simpson's car that he came up with in
Simpsons,
isn't it?
That's exactly what it is. Can we put a steering wheel on it? Yeah, definitely we can. Oh, what about a whole dashboard? Yeah. And a mixing desk? Sure. What about a gun? Sure, chuck that in there. Yeah. It's got everything you want, and yet I really, really don't want it.
So we've already said everything on there, but I'll read what it says officially. The Coleco Telstar Arcade is formed like a triangle. On every side are other game-specific controls. There is a side with a steering wheel and a lever, a side with a light gun, and a side with 2 paddles. Depending on the game played, the player may use another side. What does that mean? Oh, right, okay. Maybe some games you can use both or all 3. Imagine doing all 3. Amazing.
Just dancing around. I guess if you were playing like Grand Theft Auto on this bad boy.
Why not? Imagine that. Oh, they're missing a trick there. Rockstar, get in touch with Coleco. Anyway, here's a trailer for the game console.
This is one of the program cartridges you snap into new Telstar Arcade, the three-way microprocessor console. Start with this roaring road race. Gun the throttle. Faster. A crash. Score. Next turn to tennis for more video action. A new challenge. Quick draw with electronic pistol for target shooting.
Got him.
All games in full color. Other cartridges available with different programs. So hitch your TV to a Telstar. Telstar Arcade by Coleco.
Right, what pisses me off is that no matter how kind of ludicrous and outrageous the design of it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's a George Foreman grill with a CD player stuck on top. Doesn't matter if it's some kind of man-eating pair of binoculars, or now this console that looks like something that Donald Trump would have designed with a steering wheel and a gun plugged into it. At the end of the day, all you can play on any of these things is fucking Pong. Like, that's all they're all going, like, yeah, you can totally like drive with this steering wheel and play Pong, or pick up a light gun and play Pong, fly a plane, but it's basically Pong.
Again, similar to the other one we talked about before, there were the Action Max. There were only a certain amount of actual games you can get on this thing. So it came out in 1977 in Japan and North America. Sadly, not over here. Back when, again, no quality control. Just, fuck it. As you say, Pong or nothing else. It does look like a lot of fun to me. So the games came on these silver coloured cartridges, each containing apparently an MOS technology microchip, and there were a total of 4 game cartridges released for the system, and every cartridge has a triangular shape which connects to the top of the console. You just sort of slide it in. So all the games are thus. So cartridge number 1, you got Road Race, Tennis or Pong, and Quick Draw. So those are the main games you saw in the advert there. Cartridge 2 was Hockey, Tennis, so still called Tennis. I assume it's the same thing. Handball, which is probably exactly the same, but they're just pretending it's a different game. And Target, which I guess is the same as Quick Draw. Cartridge 3 is Bonus Pinball, Shooting Gallery, which is surely the same as Quick Draw and Target. Shoot the Bear, which is surely the same as Quick Draw, Target, and Shooting Gallery.
But with a bear.
And Deluxe Pinball, which is surely the same as Bonus Pinball. But there you go. Cartridge 4 was Naval Battle, Blast Away, and Speedball, which I assume is the same as tennis, and handball. I have to say, the first time I'd heard of this console, I have to give a shout out to the Angry Video Game Nerd YouTube series. This brilliant YouTube series where he talks about all these type of old games and consoles and things. So I thought I'd just show you, because he actually got his hands on one and gets to play it. So I'll show you a little clip of that now, and a little homage to one of my YouTube heroes.
At last, we have the Coleco Telstar Arcade. Look at this mess. A steering wheel? A gun? What madman came up with this? Believe it or not, it actually uses cartridges. Have you ever seen a cartridge like this? A silver triangle that snaps onto the top of the console?
There you go. He's talking my language.
Yeah, see. Suffice to say, the ColecoVision, not ColecoVision, the Coleco Telstar Arcade didn't last. So, those are the 3 that I chose. So, thoughts on said consoles?
I feel like there's often when we look back on certain TV shows and you think, why were they not more successful? Why did they only later go on to become a cult classic? Similarly, some of the films and film franchises we covered, you think, why wasn't it a success at the box office? Why did it only receive mixed reviews? I feel like these had their shot. I feel like they had exactly as much success as they deserve. If you were going to rank the 3, like, how would you rank them?
Are we ranking them what the best ones or the shittiest ones?
From best to worst.
Well, the worst one is probably.
I think best has to be that last one purely for the design.
Yeah, design aspect, that is the best, and then probably the Action Max, and then the Virtual Boy is the worst.
By far, the worst is the Virtual Boy. It's some kind of crime against humanity that requires you to strap It's some kind of like sadomasochistic tool. You strap yourself into a harness in order to cause yourself physical pain.
In the actual games, like the gameplay, the Virtual Boy is probably the best one, just because it's the latest one, and if you've got the hang of it, it's probably all right. Whereas the other two are very old and they don't really work. But
it's the best because it's the most recent. But then also you're putting it up against GoldenEye 64, and
it's bonkers to think they came out at the same time. But yeah, so, in an age where it's the norm to, when you've got 2 or 3 consoles and that's it, there was this weird time we had this countless odd monstrosities all vying for our attention and for your parents' money as well. And even as recent as mid to late 90s, these things were being produced. So, but even we did the Dreamcast episode, and as the Dreamcast proved, it doesn't always go to plan, even when you have a good idea. So,
no. But you know what? I feel like on this occasion, a monopoly is not such a bad thing. No. If this is the kind of shit that was being put out,
I think things like the Virtual Boy and the Telstar Arcade had to happen to get to where we are now. Where it's like, right, let's just stick to the main ones.
I'm not sure that the Virtual Boy ever had to happen. I feel slightly ashamed for humanity that it ever did happen. I feel like it's a dark period of our history that we shouldn't ever talk about again.
Because only now we're finally getting like virtual reality type things that are relatively good. And I feel like the Virtual Boy probably set it back like 20 years because that came out and it was shit and lame. And it was like, no, I don't want virtual reality, it's crap. And so the guys that wanted to do virtual reality properly were like, no, and they couldn't get the funding because the Virtual Boy ruined it. So maybe finally they've laid the ghosts of the Virtual Boy.
I don't feel like an Oculus comes with a precaution booklet. That's, do you know what I mean?
So that is it. A brief but fun journey down a very bizarro memory lane. Thanks for listening as ever. If you head to 2geeks2beers.com, you can subscribe and download wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Global Player, Podbean, loads of places. So please do rate and review us on there. It does mean a lot when you do. And please do get in touch either via our social channels, which is at 2geekscast on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us at podcast@2geeks2beers.com.
Yes, and we are also on Patreon, where if you donate just a little bit of money, you will get access to all kinds of goodies, outtakes, special mini episodes where we dissect the latest developments in geek pop culture. If you spend enough, you even get a special mini episode just for you about any topic of your choosing, or even a full-length episode. That's the top tier. You get a full-length episode just for you about any topic of your choosing. And again, we'd really appreciate your support. Any money you do donate goes directly back into funding our recording sessions, paying for our equipment, that type of thing.
Cool. Well, to play us out, I'm going to go for... it was a hard one. I was trying to work out what song to choose. And then I remembered, growing up, it would have been like 1999, 2000, I was a big fan of Eiffel 65. And I even had Eiffel 65, the album. It wasn't just Blue Dabba Dee. They had lots of catchy tunes. And one such tune on the album was a song called My Console. And it is just them singing about how much they love games and shit. So I was going to play that, but I wanted to just read you the lyrics of the song first because it's absolutely hilarious. So it goes, we're going to play, it says here, this is the lyrics, we're going to play the game, the PlayStation all day with Metal Gear Solid to Tekken 3. And from Amiga Boost to Resident Evil, just play for the fun because we got it going on. Tekken 3, Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil, Gran Turismo, Amiga Boost, Bloody Raw, X-Files, Another World. Come on, Ridge Racer, Odd World. We get a living, that game in our possession. Then they just spell out PlayStation. Yeah, but like, can you guess what era it was? Just
I feel like you're expecting a lot from the wordsmiths that did bring us I'm Blue, Dabba Dee Dabba Die, Dabba Dee Dabba Die. I feel like it's a step up.
So here's the next song on our 2 Geeks curated playlist, which we forgot to up. It is on Spotify actually. We haven't updated it for a while. I might update it soon. If you search for 2 Geeks 2 Beers on Spotify, not only will you find our podcast, but you might be able to find Hopefully you'll be able to find our playlist that we're putting together of songs that we played on the show. So here you go. This is My Console by Eiffel 65. See you next time.
Bye.
We're gonna play the game, the PlayStation all day, with the Metal Gear Solid to check and free, and from Omega Boost to Resident Evil, just play for the fun, cause we got it going on.
So when you were at school, talking about Eiffel 65, you know, we were at school when it came out. Did you know what the lyrics were, or was there ever any debate amongst you and your friends as to what the lyrics to Blue by Eiffel 65?
I don't know. What the verse or the chorus?
The chorus, more the chorus.
Oh, I don't know. What did you think it was?
Well, no. So I had a friend, maybe stretching it, but I knew someone who couldn't come to terms with the idea that Eiffel 65 were just spouting gibberish, dabba dee dabba die. He was convinced that the lyrics were in fact, "I'm blue, in Aberdeen I will die," and that it was in fact, the song was in fact a melancholy tale of a man of a man with depression. He's blue and he's spending his last night in Aberdeen, and he's planning to die by suicide. I'm blue, in Aberdeen I will die.
For some reason, it's like, I have to go to Aberdeen. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to go to Aberdeen and do it.
But what an odd thing!
Dark.
What an odd thing to set to a jaunty Europop tune. I'm blue in Aberdeen, I will die. In Aberdeen, I will die.